What's up, everyone? Welcome to the Handmade and Beyond podcast. I'm your host, LL, leader of the handmadeandbeyond.com website and community. I'm a self-employed entrepreneur, an Etsy expert, and business coach who's figured out how to make my entire living with my handmade business. Each week, I'll dive into strategies and success tips to help you with your handmade business, with Etsy, and everything in between. Let's dive in. All right, guys, what is going on? Welcome back to the Handmade and Beyond podcast. As usual, glad to be back with you guys. Pumped up for this episode. Got another really good episode for you. Hopefully you and your families are doing well as usual. So in this episode, I want to talk about something that I don't normally talk about a lot, which is how did I determine when was the right time to quit my job and what factors did I consider? So in case you don't know, which you may not, because like I said, I don't talk about this a whole lot, I left my corporate job, retired, quote unquote retired, from my corporate job in 2018, and I've been doing Etsy full-time ever since. Haven't looked back, even though at the time it was extremely scary, and it was probably one of the craziest things that I've ever done, in my life. So I'm fortunate now, looking back now, it's not as much of a big deal, but back then it was super scary. And I wanted to talk about this today to hopefully inspire you, but also set the right expectations. And the reason why I don't hound on this and I don't brag on this too much is because I don't want to give you illusions or false illusions of grandeur. I don't want to set the wrong expectations, because a lot of people will, especially online, not so much Etsy because it's just a different group of people. That's why I love working with Etsy sellers. But a lot of times you see the get rich quick stuff. You see the fancy cars, people in front of these big houses that they probably rented temporarily or, broke in and filmed and then ran out. So a lot of people do that stuff where they're talking about their online businesses and presenting things the wrong way, where it's like, oh, if you listen to them, you're automatically going to be successful. That's not true at all. Yeah, those people may be able to help you, just like I may be able to help you. But at the end of the day, it's 100% up to you and the actions that you take to get you where you want to be. So, I talk about, I quit my job as one of the craziest but most awesome things that I've done in my life. It's provided me so much freedom over my time, which is the most important. It's not about the money. Take the money away from out of the equation. What most people really want is freedom over their time. Yeah, you need to make a decent living. Like, you don't want to have to worry about money, but you don't have to make crazy amount of money to run your own business and have a lot of time freedom and flexibility and just alleviates so much stress. So that's kind of the main goal. And that was always my goal as well. But I don't want you to think that everyone can do it. Everyone can, do Etsy or whatever business that you take hold and step away from their job and do it full time or even get to that point. It's definitely not for everyone. And it's not easy. It is not. It is far from easy. What you guys see is the success. You may see, okay, this person is lucky or successful. They have their own business. They walked away from their job, or they have a nice car, or they have a nice house. You see those successful things. You see the top of the iceberg, like I always talk about, but you don't see the years, the hours, the days, all the frustration, all the work put in to get them to that point, to get me to where I am today. You don't see me opening my Etsy shop in 2014 and not getting any sales for several months and questioning if this thing even worked. It was new to me. I didn't even know what Etsy really was. You don't see my years, probably my decade of side hustles before I even got into Etsy. I wasn't really serious about any of them, but I still always tried to make money with different side hustles. Probably like a lot of you guys try to make money doing a lot of different things. So you don't see all those sacrifices that I made to get to the point of walking away, from my corporate job in 2018. So that's kind of what I wanted to set the tone for, because I don't want to blow smoke. I want to give you the right expectations, but I also want to tell you how I determined kind of my story and how I determined when it was time to walk away and what I looked at, the factors that I really looked at. And another thing that you have to understand is society teaches you, grow up, go to college, go get a good job, and then work there until you retire the rest of your life. That's what society teaches you. They kind of force you in that bubble. And I never felt at home in that bubble. I did those things, but I always felt like there was more for me. I was, had a good job. I was in corporate America. I had a decent paying job, but it was a lot of responsibility. I, had like 150 employees. I managed 7 divisions. There was a lot of stress, and I had to deal with a lot of problems that I didn't create. So I didn't feel content doing that. I wanted to do my own thing. I wanted to create my own problems, right? I wanted to do make my own money and be responsible for my own business because I was confident in myself. It just took me a while to get there and find my place, which for me was Etsy, was my clothing company that I was able to slowly grow for years until I got to the point. So, like I said, I want to set the tone with that so you guys know that it's not easy, but I at the same time, you can do it if you want to do it. It's all based on the actions that you take, the knowledge that you take, or intake inside you. But that I can teach you, I can show you exactly what to do. I can teach you exactly what to do. That's why I started the Handmade and Beyond community. But if you don't follow what I tell you, and if you don't do the things and set aside time to do the things, then you're not going to get momentum and traction. So that's what's the most important. It's still up to you at the end of the day. You could have Elon Musk, Oprah Winfrey, Tony Robbins tell you exactly what to do, but if you don't do it and aren't consistent with it, you're never going to get any traction. So just keep that in mind. This stuff isn't easy, but if you want it, you can go out and you can do it. I'm confident that you can. And hopefully this episode will give you a little bit of motivation to do what you want to do, as far as maybe making a little bit extra money, get your business off the ground, grow your business, whatever you want to do. You guys can do it. But I want to tell you kind of my my story as far as what I looked at. So first and foremost, the most important thing I think to keep in mind is I grew my business. I had to spend a lot of hours and time before work, after work, during lunch, working on my business to get it to the point where I was comfortable with the income that was coming in consistently. So I grew my business to where I was close to what income I was making at my corporate job. Not quite, but it was close. And that was consistent for almost 2 years. It was still growing, year over year, but it was consistent. It's not like I had like a random crazy year and then the next year it went way down. No, it was consistently growing over the last, since I started it, but it was sustainable the last probably 2 years. And that's when I got to that income level, then that's when I really considered leaving my corporate job. Because I think a lot of people get in trouble. They start a business and they leave, or they try to do it full time right away, but they have no income coming in. That creates a lot of extra stress. And growing a business just takes time. It's hard to push it forward if you don't have a lot of money or investments to make. You just have to keep pushing that boulder up the hill, but it takes time. You can't fast forward it quicker. And not to mention, that time is what you really learn about your business. It takes, you learn different things about your business that will help you be successful down the road. So you can't really fast forward that stuff. It takes time to learn all the facets of your business and make some pivots in your business so that you really can find that success down the road. So that's number one. I would think you need to grow your business substantially on the side. And I know it's hard. A lot of people tell me they have no time. This is a whole nother episode, another time episode that I'm going to do, but you have to find a way. You got to work during lunches. You got to work on breaks. I know a lot of you guys have kids and other obligations, but you guys have to find time. Maybe you cut out some sleep. I know that's hard, but how bad do you want it? What is your end goal? How bad do you want it? You have the same amount of time as Elon Musk, who's running a space company and one of the best or the best electric car companies in the world. So think about that. He has a lot of stuff going on. Just you need to chip away a little bit of time here and there. And it doesn't matter if it's 5 minutes, 10 minutes. Consistency in chipping away that time, putting it towards your business will add up. Those baby steps will add up. That's what you have to keep in mind. So you have to grow your business to a substantial level or a decent level first. and then you can walk away a little bit more comfortably because you have that revenue stream coming in. I think that's the main thing that people have to consider when stepping away full time. That's what I considered, even though it was still really scary. I knew that I still had a decent amount of income coming in. Obviously, I was going to take a cut just because over the years I grew that business to the same or close to the same level. So I was doubling my income. So I was taking away half the income. But still, I was comfortable with what was coming in, the consistency of coming in. And then I just wanted the freedom over my time, of course. So that was number one. The other things that I considered, and I really did a pros and cons list, and I can't tell you how many times I wrote out pros and cons of leaving my corporate job. I did it so many times. I was trying to find the list. I don't know what I did with it. I should have kept it. But I did it so many times. I wrote the same thing over and over, and I thought maybe if I rewrote it, things would change. And it was always the same. There was more pros than cons. But I was very analytical about it. I just wanted to make sure that it was the right time to leave. So basically, the number one thing that it came down to when I did my pros and cons list, this was the biggest reason that I decided to walk away, was time. The time that I was spending on work. So driving to work was anywhere from 45 minutes to an hour. To and from work, and then you spend 8 hours at work and then another hour for lunch. So roughly 11 hours a day, sometimes more, depending on, like I said, I had a corporate job. I was a director, so sometimes I would have to stay late. I would have meetings. So sometimes it was more than 11 hours a day I was spending with working and drive time. I mean, that is a lot of time spent on work. What could I do if I got that time back? If I could spend 11 hours a day in my own business, what could I do? What could I accomplish? I already grew my business to a decent level that I was pretty comfortable with, basically doing it full time, basically doing it on the side, doing it during lunch breaks, after work, before work. If I could spend more than, and maybe there was a lot of days I would only spend maybe half hour on my business, 15 minutes. Sometimes I would get an hour. But if I could get 11 hours a day, I mean, my goodness, what could I do with that time? I mean, if I could translate that time to dollars made compared to what I was already doing, I mean, the opportunities were really endless for what I could accomplish. So that was a big, big takeaway for me, was the fact that I could get all that time back and put it into my own business, because if I was going to bet on anybody, it was going to be myself. I was confident in what I could do if I just had more time to do it. So that's all I did. I bet on myself that I could put that time to good use and be able to grow my business or continue to grow my business. And that's exactly, what I ended up doing. But that was number one. That was the biggest thing, the biggest pro that I looked at. The other pro that I looked at was getting rid of some added costs. So I was super conservative because I knew that, okay, I'm going to be taking a little bit of a pay cut leaving, and I have extra costs that maybe I don't need to spend right away. And some of these are pretty, very out there for maybe some of you guys to consider, but this is exactly what I did. So, I have, a longtime girlfriend, and, we have 2 cars. But I was like, if I'm already working at home, I don't need a car. I'm near the city. Everything's pretty close. So I was like, well, why don't I get rid of my car? And, so not only that, I had a $350 car payment. I was spending roughly $100 to $200 on gas a month, driving to work, because I was driving like 45 miles a day or something like that. So I could immediately save that money in gas, $100 to $200 a month back from gas that I won't be driving. But if I didn't have a car, I could be saving $350 a month. And if I didn't have to pay insurance on that car, it's another, $100 to $200 a month. I don't remember exactly what it was. So roughly speaking, $800 to $1,000 a month I could save by not having those expenses. And then the other extra costs to cut was cable. It's like, why do I need cable? I have Netflix, Hulu. I don't need to be spending $100 on cable. yeah, you need internet, but I don't need to be, I'm going to be working on my business anyways. And there's other ways to watch that are cheaper nowadays. So that was another $100 saved. Then eating out, that you can easily be more conservative with eating out and cook in more, especially if you have more time where you're not driving to work. You spend that time, making a meal. So all in all, what I did was I really put a stranglehold on my costs and my expenses for the first probably 9 months of my business. I didn't, I sold my car. I didn't have a car. I would actually ride my bike to the post office when I needed to, or, post office will come and pick up your packages. So that's honestly what I did. And I got exercise. I got out and about. Luckily that stuff was close. I know that's not an option for some of you guys. I'm just talking about, what I specifically did. Maybe just get a cheaper car, for the time being. But I just wanted to make it, I probably could have kept all those expenses, but I didn't want to create extra stress. I was trying to go super lean, super conservative, and if anything, use that extra money to put back in my business to grow it that much faster. So those were the things that I looked at as far as expenses go. The other things that I looked at was, and these are kind of cons, you lose your health insurance, but if you think about it, you pay for health insurance anyways, especially now. Health insurance is kind of crazy. So either way, you pay for health insurance. They take it out of your paycheck every week. So what's different? You just have to get on. You get your own health insurance plan, and actually Etsy has they have a group plan through Stride, which goes out on the marketplace. But you can get save some money on your health insurance by going through Stride, which is through Etsy. So my health insurance really wasn't that much more than there was at least a year or two where it's actually cheaper than my corporate health insurance. So you just have to pick your plan, pick what's best for you. But either way, you're paying for your health insurance. A lot of people don't realize that. They're like, oh, you're doing your own business. You're gonna lose your health insurance. Well, no, you're paying for it anyways. You just have to go out and get it yourself. The other thing was a loss. I lost my 401k match, so that kind of sucked. I can't really pick that back up, but I can still invest. Now I rolled it over to a Roth IRA, and you still make investments towards your retirement. So I still do that. Yeah, I don't have a match like I used to have, but I'm not going to stay, working and not really enjoying working for the man and working 11, 12 hours a day for a 3% 401k match. It doesn't make any sense, but it is still a con that you have to consider. Loss of paid vacation. Sure, paid vacation was nice, but guess what happens when I come back from paid vacation? I have a ton of work I got to catch up on. So it's like double the work when I come back. So I can still take vacations now. Yeah, they're not technically paid, but they are, because I still have my Etsy shop running in the background. It's still selling 24/7, so I'm still making money when I'm on vacation. So it's the same kind of concept. It's just a little bit different in the way of thinking. Job security is another thing that people get freaked out about. It's like, oh man, I'm not, I'm gonna leave my job, job that I've had for several years. Mind you, I worked at the same company for 11 years that I left. So, it's safe to say I had a pretty good job security, but if COVID has taught us anything, it's that your jobs are not safe. There's outside factors at play that will always impact you, whether you have your own business or you work for somebody else. You are not in control, or at least you're more in control having your own business than working for somebody else. They could cut staff. Outside factors can come to play, and you can lose your job at the blink of an eye, no matter how secure you think it is. So jobs are never as secure as they think you are. It's just something that society teaches you. So it's best to go out and do your own thing, create your own security, at least a business that you have more control over. The other thing was stress. I dealt with a lot of stress at work. Now, working for myself, yes, there is still stress, but it's my stress. I can have a little bit more control of it. I don't have to have, my boss knocking at my door and saying, oh man, we have this report that we have to finish, or we have this meeting that we have to plan for, or we have this huge problem that we have to fix. No, it's nothing like that. It's like, okay, my sales dipped this week. What can I do to kind of get them up? What can I do to fix it? What can I change? What can I look at? What can I implement? So you have more control over your stress. it's just a different kind of stress that you look at. But that's pretty much it. Those are the main things that I looked at. Like I said, the biggest thing was just time. The time savings was killer. And one thing I forgot to mention was figuring out my drive time. So depending on traffic and stuff, my drive time was either longer or shorter. Most days I spent around at least an hour and a half driving to and from work total. Sometimes it was 2 hours total. But doing the averages, I figured out with my drive time and the amount of days that I worked a year, and I did all that math, I drove almost an entire year of my life in 11 years of work. So I did the drive time math, and in driving to and from work for those 11 years, I added up all those hours, and it equated to almost an entire year of my life that I spent in my car, which is like totally blew my mind. I was like, oh my God, what a waste. Yeah, there was times that I would, listen to podcasts and stuff like that. But most of the time I just listened to the radio and I was just driving down the road. So can you imagine that, driving for an entire year? Like what a waste of time. I couldn't think of a bigger waste of time. So that really kind of took me back, and I was like, this has got to stop. I can't be wasting my life driving to and from work. So that was another big factor that I considered, and another calculation that I considered in my time calculations as well. So hopefully that helps you guys out. Those are the things that I really looked at and did when I was considering, or got to the point where I thought I was in a good place to walk away, but I still didn't do it off the cuff. I still planned for months. I still did those calculations. I still did those pros and cons lists to just make sure, double check that I was in the right place, that I felt good about it. It doesn't matter what you do. It's still going to be scary. It's still going to be extremely scary. You're still going to be nervous. You're still going to be uneasy about it. But once you do it, you will feel amazing, and you'll kind of be in a different place, and you'll get into your own little you'll find your way. You still have to be structured and stuff like that, even after, but it is so amazing to have that freedom over your time and not have to report to anybody and do things that people tell you to do. You can set your own schedule. Doesn't mean you work less always. You can, but you still, a lot of times I work more. Most of the times, yes, I work less because I can control my schedule and be a little bit more efficient, but it's just the freedom. Even if you work just as much, you still have that freedom over your time, which is 100% amazing. And that's the one thing in life that we can't get back, is we can't get more time. So what's more important than that is having the freedom over your time to control your schedule, when you do stuff, when you work, when you don't work. So that is the biggest thing that I think you guys should consider, and that should be your biggest motivator, I would think, to growing your business to a level where maybe you want to walk away, or even maybe you just want to get a part-time job instead of a full-time job and then do Etsy, full-time or something like that. There's a lot of different ways that you can do things and structure your life. At the end of the day, this is your life. You can structure it how you want. It's just about going out and taking action on those things to get to where you want to be. So I believe in you guys. I know you can do it. And hopefully this episode helps you kind of get the wheels turning, gives you some tips, some tactics, some things to consider depending on where you want to get and what goals that you guys have. But other than that, I'll be back next week with an amazing episode for you guys. If you guys need more help, resources, tips, strategies, a roadmap to grow your business no matter where you're at in your Etsy journey, I'd love to help you guys as well. You can go to handmadeandbeyond.com for additional resources. I also offer a 30-day trial to the Handmade and Beyond community, where you can get free 30 days of live coaching, access to the community help forum, and then the Etsy Success Roadmap. So I'd like to give that to you free so you can test drive it for 30 days. But I know once you get in there and test drive everything, you'll love it and want to stay longer and work with me to continue growing your business to where you want to get it. So hopefully you guys can find the extra freedom, the extra time, and really take control of your business and your life and get to where you guys want to be. Have an awesome rest of your day. Happy selling.